Nostalgia, an ambiguous feeling that most likely will unfold itself to every person in a particular way, whether it's triggered by a song, a game, a TV show, a photo, or even a smell. It brings you back in time. The period of time it reminds you of you would probably consider as something along the lines of simpler, more enjoyable, and better in general. It isn't obligatory for nostalgia to present a somber picture, produce a gloomy atmosphere, and evoke only sad feelings, although that is the way it generally manifests itself. Most of that comes from the both ominous but true fact that those moments will never occur again, and are just that, a mere memento you can only reminisce about. A radical but absolute thought that is not easy to take in. Also, the comparison between the two excerpts, the one obviously being the better one and vice versa, definitely will end up painting such a picture and help in the bringing of such emotions in a person. Comparison is the main contributor for melancholic emotions. Why is it that we decide to compare it in a way that paints our present life as not pleasant, a constant struggle and overall worse than before though? Mainly because nostalgia is felt for memories we perceive as good, and as an impulsive action it makes sense to start comparing those good memories to the not so good current ones. While impulsive behavior is not always bad, it certainly has a high chance of leading to undesired consequences, since it isn't a thoroughly thought out action. If we begin comparing, what ends up happening is we get the idea that our life is going downhill. The potency of that idea is significant as well because of the fact that it's reinforced by a single or many events which played a huge role in our character development or were one of our main sources of happiness. Constantly feeling nostalgic and over time developing such a mindset is a great possibility, and it's one that serves no purpose and is quite detrimental and untrue. That is because dwelling in the long gone past that always seems to be connected to glory and happiness only distances you from the present, which is the only part of time you can influence. Because that happens, your actions in the present, which in the future would be considered as a new past, are frowned upon by you, and that is only because of the fact that you decide to not focus on their quality, but rather the past which births nostalgia.
What?
Over time, the idea that your life is going downhill gets even firmer as a result, but it all stems from a lie. That lie is based on the fact that you only take out a fraction of your past, which is the best one, compared to the present, which most likely will not be as good, and then inferring that life back then must have been better because of the single example. It's an extreme oversimplification, and you end up overlooking many other events, which you certainly would not want to live through ever again. The innocent nostalgia is basically just the reminder that the past has had its good sides. Looking at them now could also motivate you to try to change your current situation if you are feeling down, instead of brewing negativity and resentment in you. You peer into the past and realize that since it was good, the future also has a realistic potential of being like it. The possibility of that potential unfolding itself into a prosperous future varies based on your worldview. Your worldview also changes throughout time, however, maybe for the better or perhaps for the worse. It happens in a subtle manner, and that's why it takes you a while to realize just how much you have changed. Anyway, depending on what your worldview is whenever nostalgic waves wash over your head, you may either take it lightly, as a treat, as something satisfactory that you are glad has happened, or you could spiral into adversity. Adversity which is only the plot of your imagination and the way you perceive information. It is self-induced. Nostalgic memories usually develop in the early stages of our lives, hence the reason why childhood is usually considered as nostalgic. When you take this into account, however, there seems to be a discrepancy which is bizarre in a way. Recently I've noticed how events from the near past evoke memories which I would be led to believe were further into the past. In other words, these memories in theory should not bring out any nostalgic feeling, but yet they do, and not a mild one as well. Many people also comment on their experience with certain entertainment that brings nostalgia to them. Whether it be a song, a game, or an important video, it seems that it's not uncommon. However, most of these comments are based on things that have happened relatively recently, 4 or 5 years max. While I'm not aware of the ages of these people, they also seem to be perplexed by that. And after all, in the grand scheme of things, this amount of time is not that long, yet it still causes an elaborate recollection of the past. For me, between the period from 2015 to 2018, I mostly see a jubilant past self, one that is carefree and has so many things to look forward to and be excited about. Mainly YouTube videos, games, and, as weird as it may sound, even school. I find myself wallowing in the glorious past as though it is possible to bring it back. Spoiler alert, it isn't. Most of that started after school ended. The home stretch of that whole journey lasted for 5 years, and as the end was approaching and closing in, it seemed like time progressed at an increasingly rapid rate. At the end, I couldn't believe the situation. Everything had already gone like a summer breeze or a daydream. Looking back at it, all of the troubles and adversities were fun and exciting, adventurous, intriguing, and engaging. And if the adversities are considered as such, elaborating on the events which were enjoyable even back then is unnecessary. They are sacred, covered in gold and glamour, something so valuable that even reminiscing about it brings a great portion of appreciation, as well as being upsetting, since it will never occur again. The other part, YouTube videos. Most of them are considered as something of such importance because they were events of great historical significance when speaking about the internet. While their high status could be a reason to look back into them with a tear on your eye because they are long gone, another part reinforces those somber feelings, and is that the channels themselves have changed. Of course, change is inevitable and necessary, since your current self will always be insufficient in some manner, so you have to improve it. And improving it, well, that requires change. The point is, however, that we see just how important something is to us once enough time has passed, or we are deprived of the possibility of it happening again. That's not to say that something better is not achievable, but the iconic essence of those very events is what made them so special, and something that will no more be seen fresh out of the box. That recollection of the past, nostalgia, is something prevalent in everybody's life. On its own, you can't get a great picture of how it affects a person. That solely depends on the way that person perceives that recollection, whether he decides to worry about it and while shaking his head and staring at a single point whisper, "It's not the same anymore," or just casually reminiscing about those amazing moments he had. It comes down to one's mentality. You decide what to make out of it.